salaries and what have you. He's an employee at the end of the day. He's an employee of the game, and if the game is coming together and having so many issues with the way it's being run, and I'm not saying that it won't anyway all the time, because that's how the fucking world is now. You hear the noise of the angry ranters like me, but yeah, I think it has to be under threat. And like you say, there are other people within our game already who might offer us a different option come the end of this year, and I think something has to be done around there. One last thing around the sort of academies and the regionalising of it as well, from David's point, and I think this might probably end our conversation, or my conversation. You can say what you want, Tim. My conversation around this thing, but I strongly think the regional aspect needs to be done at the level below, at the scholarship level. Now, that's not to say the clubs can't play parts in this, but clubs might have different strengths where they can do that part. Like Wigan have a really good education division because they give that to other parts of the Wigan community outside of just the people within the club. The foundation has education outreach stuff, so that might be something that they can offer to kids in that area. Then St Helens might have a better, I don't know, training regime or some, I don't know, or something. And you can make those things more regional, the scholarship level, and combine strengths at that level, whilst then passing off at 16 years of age these players into the individual club academies, because the whole point of everyone's fury about it was that guy won't get to play for the club that he has always wanted to play for, sort of thing. Well, the academy is the finishing school. I think you need to get finished at the best places for you to get into the best places professionally, but scholarship should be regional. Town teams, things like that, should come back and have more local and regional representation for school kids, so that
and to keep people within the game. I bet
yeah.
I'd love to know what percentage of players who could get into scholarship/academy level drop out because of the amount of travel and work that is required. And if by keeping it more localized, do you keep them in the sport longer, which means they develop that extra level of love for it, especially a kid who's going to be playing 3 or 4 different sports at 14, 15.
Yeah.
Is it almost a marketing thing that you need to try and, you need to attract the talent and retain it within the sport rather than putting it off.
And Daryl Goulding said something really interesting on the Wigan Warriors podcast this week, about one of the things he thinks is important is selling other things to the kids that come through the scholarships and through the academies. And of course he will want to change the system because he is head of youth at Wigan, but so he wants Wigan to be able to pick up the best and bring them through their own structures. But one thing he said is, we need to make these kids realise there's opportunities. Even if they go back into the community game, they can represent Barla and they can go on tours, as
student game.
Exactly. Yeah. So these other aspects of the sport that can give to people, and that's beyond looking at like the other life skills and stuff. And rather than just saying the focus is to become a professional player, it's supporting the players that don't have that focus, even if they have that ability, out into the other options of it. And that's why you need to work with your development academies as well as your elite academies, as well as your scholarship groups, as well as the local community clubs. And that's why at 14, 15, 16 being part of a more regional thing where you see different aspects and you have different people talking to you, and it's not just all about trying to become a professional rugby league player. It's about what is great about the community around this sport that can make you a better person and have a better life. I just think that's the way we need to be shifting the focus and sort that out before we think about changing academies.
Yeah, and it's the same. I mean, it's a very similar thing with the reserve comp. Yeah, that gets brought up every 6 to 18 months. That just bringing back reserves isn't going to fix everything. Just bringing lots of academies in isn't going to fix it. There's a whole ecosystem of problems that need to be looked at in totality before you can start to fix a lot of the problems that you're seeing and that are being blamed on these various symptoms.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Right, let's move on to some other things. A quick one. Cook Islands international Anthony Gelling has left Leigh Centurions to return home for New Zealand for personal reasons. The 30-year-old joined in April and scored 2 tries in 6 games for Super League's bottom club, and we are now done with him. Let's hope that we don't have to talk about that again. Another story coming out today: Sunday's Women's Super League derby between St Helens and Wigan Warriors has been postponed after a positive COVID-19 case within the Saints ranks. I mean, we started to see these stories creep back in, which is worrying. The positive test came within 48 hours of Saturday's Challenge Cup final victory over York for Saints. More than 5 teammates, I'm gonna say it, Tim, all of them, because how did they not all get deemed to be close contracts? Following track and trace, must self-isolate for 10 days. That means that under the rules, they're not required to play. It is hoped that the game can be rescheduled at a later date, as there is currently just one close contact showing for York at this stage. Their match against Wakefield this weekend is as yet unaffected. So it's a shame for whoever's tested positive. I hope that they recover fully and quickly, and that no one else has caught anything that could potentially make anyone else ill. But just a reminder, isn't it?
Yeah, it is exactly. It's a reminder that things and the protocols are there for a reason. I did think it was slightly odd that when I was watching the footage that so many of the non-playing Saints players seemed to appear on the pitch. And I understand that they want to, but equally in the time of COVID, we have to be a bit more sensible about that. And I think having, it was another 5 or 6 girls run on seemed a little bit excessive.
Yeah, and they're obviously going to be close contacts because they were celebrating what was a fantastic and significant win for the team. So, but it's a reminder that we still need to be wary, because this impacts the season then, unfortunately. But hopefully the game can be rearranged and it's not going to cause too much of an issue. Do you want to move us into the Championship?
Yeah, Newcastle have signed Hull KR forward Owen Harrison and Wigan centre Sam Housel on loan. Harrison, who's 22, has played 14 games for Hull KR and has previously enjoyed a spell on loan at Dewsbury. He has signed a season-long loan deal with Newcastle. Housel, who's 19, has made 2 first-team appearances for Wigan since making his debut last season. He signed an initial 2-week loan deal with the Thunder.
And EFC78JU said, I am surprised that one has gone through, but still Owen Harrison might not make as much progress in the Super League this season, so Hull KR had to loan him to Newcastle Thunder as he was improved so he can get more and mostly get game time there. Yeah, we're having to use loans, aren't we, to get game time for fringe squad players. Especially Harrison, who wouldn't be available for the academy team anyway because of his age.
Yeah, I think we're going to see lots of these short-term loan deals because it's effectively dual reg in a slightly different form. We're just going to, there's going to be a lot of them, especially at this point in the season, I think.
Yep.
Toulouse's home game against Bradford on June the 19th has been cancelled due to COVID-19 restrictions. France remains on the UK government's amber list, which was announced on June the 3rd, meaning anyone returning from France is required to isolate for at least 5 days on their return. In line with the RFL board's previous decision, part-time teams are not required to play in France due to the impact on their jobs outside of the game.
Something a little bit more strange is going on in Whitehaven. Chairman Tommy Todd has tendered his resignation, with the club confirming there is an ongoing situation at the recreation ground. Sources revealed there have been growing tensions at board level over the actions of a shareholder with concerns over alleged aggressive and abusive behaviour. There have been reports as well that the manager of the club's popular Marquee Bar has also quit, leaving it without a licence. Interesting story that I read on Love Rugby League this week. It's a bit worrying, isn't it, if there's people in senior positions feeling they have to resign because of behaviours of others.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll find out the details in the fullness of time, but it does sound an odd situation there, especially the week when we saw the ex Wales Rugby League director and ex London Scholars general manager, who may or may not still be working for Featherstone Rovers, sentenced for a theft of £43,000.
Yeah, there's some characters in rugby league that maybe aren't aren't the ideal to people have around, and someone who has duped a charity he worked for out of 40 odd thousand pounds, like the guy from Fevaz. That's disgusting. Um, who was that? What's his name? I've forgotten his name.
Jack Davis.
Jack Davies, yeah. Get him away from our game. Featherstone, though, have signed prop Darcy Lussick on a 2-week loan deal from Salford. The 32-year-old has made 165 career appearances for Manly Sea Eagles, Paramount Eels, back at the Manly Sea Eagles, Toronto Wolfpack and Salford. This one surprised me this morning that Salford have done this. Maybe they're just so convinced that Leigh won't win a single game that they're not really worrying about what they've got on deck, or do you think they're working on a deal to bring someone else into the club and needed to make some space?
I wonder if it's some cap room and it would be a quota spot as well.
Yeah.
So I imagine, it could well be that.
Interesting. You'd think, he played at the Championship before and he did okay at that level, so you'd expect him to be strengthening Featherstone's side. Shall we move to the wider world of Rugby League, Tim?
Yes, and Serbian side Red Star Belgrade have signed former Wigan prop and everyone's favourite pub quiz question, Eddie Pettybourne. It was only announced in April that the 33-year-old was joining North American Rugby League side the Brooklyn Kings on a 2-year deal, but the prop forward has now joined Red Star Belgrade.
Yeah, and the proposed North American Rugby League competition that was scheduled to start this month has been put back in completeness now to 2022. Doubts have been raised over the viability of the league in recent weeks due to finance, logistics, player availability and insurance. The Western Conference of it had already pushed itself back till next year anyway, hadn't it? So, the competition that was launched to quite a lot of fanfare earlier this year was meant to involve Toronto Wolfpack and Ottawa Aces. Obviously, one former member of the Rugby League pyramid in the European structures, and another one due to join it this year, but for the pandemic cutting that opportunity for them short. The league organisers have confirmed they will look ahead to 2022, but it just feels like more and more this isn't going to go anywhere. They might have been able to sign some players, but none of the players that already playing in the competition that might want to play for USA at some point would have been able to play in this it was very, very complicated.
Yeah, and it is, as I said, it's very similar to the Euro 13 where it was announced, there was lots of logos and flashy statements and
team
names, and then it's all disappeared very quickly. So we shall see if anything ever happens there. But
hopefully it means that more focus can go back on the USARL competition that is starting up this month. And the teams that initially were thinking about not playing in it are now back in it. So there's a benefit there for that competition to keep going with the, I wouldn't say huge momentum that is built up in recent times, but the strength it's developed. It's it's better than it was, and it's only going one way. So hopefully that can continue.
Yeah, and finally, Rugby League World Cup 2021 and official logistics partner Cahun and Nigel have announced a tournament time campaign, Tree for a Try, to deliver a long-lasting impact beyond the conclusion of the event this year and to support the tournament's commitment to delivering the most sustainable Rugby League World Cup ever. Cahun and Nigel are pledged to plant a tree for every try scored in all 61 matches across the men's, women's and wheelchair tournaments as part of their ongoing sustainability goals.
Yeah, so if you're watching a blowout and you start thinking this isn't great for whatever reason or not, start thinking, actually, get some trees here.